The focus of our summer training is to increase every capability that we have as an athlete. So we want to increase their max speed, and then any capability under that is increased as well. And we do that with a proper periodization and a progressive overload to start. We use the KINEXON data to go back and look through week to week and period to period of how well we are adapting to the stimulus. And then for the second portion of the summertime, we like to elicit a different type of response to where alactic capacity is what we really focus on, and how fast can you be throughout the entirety of a session, even if it's incomplete rest. The biggest benchmarks and metrics that we look at over the summertime is obviously total distance and accumulating volume, but more specifically, high-speed distance over 85%, and how many yards over June and July that we will accumulate that and stay in those zones. And that's what's incredible about KINEXON, is not only does it show us their total distance, but it shows us in what speed zone that they're accumulating their volume in. And that has been second to none from any other trackable sports wearable that we've ever had. So one of the most important metrics that we track is high speed distance over 85%. And it's not 90, it's 85, because when we actually practice with pads on in fall camp and in the season, they have at least 15 pounds of gear on. So the player relative metrics that KINEXON provides us lets us as coaches determine who needs more or less training. And the best part about that is the longer you collect data on an athlete and the longer you have the same system, the more informative decisions you can make based off of the data that's been given to you.
So as you can see here, we have our live data. Right now we're in the middle of our walkthrough before practice starts. So some of the things that we could possibly look at during the practice, right? We could look at our volume-based metric, right? Distance. We could also look at distance per minute. Some other things that I may check on in the midst of the practice, right? I may look at the speed max, right? That's a big one for me because I understand on certain days, we're hitting different percentages of our speed. All right, if our practice is short and intense, right, we may be hitting higher speeds. If we have a long duration practice, right, that day is a lot of high volume. So on that day, our speeds may look a little bit different. Also, I can check on that stuff in the goals, our goals tab. In our KINEXON dashboard. If I set goals at the beginning of our practice, we can do that with our return to play guys. We can do that with the practice. That just lets us know where we're at. So if I set the goals for, hey, I know on this kind of practice, right, on average, we're reaching 5,000 yards, right? I can go in, put the goals on the goals tab, set it to 5,000 yards, making sure that we don't eclipse that.
So we've been in multiple cases where guys, they give us every ounce of energy they have. But sometimes that's too much, and we have to make sure that we peel back in multiple areas so that they're ready for game day. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but it's also a hard message to convey, especially to football coaches when, you know, we want more in every aspect. And we've conditioned these guys to give us more in every aspect, but it's up to us in staying in the eye of the storm to make sure that we make those informed decisions to peel back and be proper and peaking when it's time for game day or a specific game or a specific period of time in our training. It is extremely important to track all phases of training, and especially into the season, because you always have something to look back on. And every team is different, every needs analysis is different. So it gives us an opportunity to catalog what we've done in the past and then build on what we're going to do in the future. As I've said in the past, like, we're not guessing. Like, we see what we have, we know what we have as a team, and we, per our needs analysis, we know what we need to work on. So if we can go back and see all the things that we have improved on, then we can check off that and go to the next capability that needs to be addressed, and then make sure all of our focus and intensity goes to that. That way, in season, if something was to ever happen, whether it be an injury or a minor setback or God forbid, a concussion or something, we can go back, look at our benchmarks, look at what we've done in the past, and get the guy game ready as fast as possible, like I said, without guesswork. So KINEXON gives us great detail and insight into all of the metrics, specifically accumulated accelerated load, and we can use that week to week in the season to make sure that guys aren't overreaching or overtraining due to competitions. And as coaches, we mitigate that with position coaches. If a kid has, let's say, 10 to 15% above his accumulated accelerated load or any other metric, you know, we flag them. Well, that would obviously be a caution, but if it's 15 plus, you know, God forbid 20 plus, like that is a red flag that we use to monitor their practice loads in season, so when the game comes around, guys are able to compete at a high level and there's no drop off in any sort of competitive advantage or athletic ability. So the biggest thing that I would say for any coach or athlete or any institution that is looking for a performance tracking system, KINEXON for us has been a godsend because of the way that all of our metrics go straight to the cloud, and we can have our live data in our hands at a continuous manner if needed, but more so between practices or between workouts and sessions, we can make, as a staff, adjustments. I wouldn't say on the fly, but quick adjustments before the next group to fine tune our training. And that's been huge for us. Obviously, there are things that you can plan for that may not always, you know, happen the way that you want, but the fact that we can adjust it and fine tune it is huge, because then the rest of our team is getting the exact prescription that they need. And then when we follow up with the previous groups, we know what they're missing, and then we can obviously give it to them in a more controlled manner and close the gap per se in every instance. For institutions and coaches that may not have a wearable performance trackable system, KINEXON is by far, in my opinion, tier 1 elite in every which way, and specifically customer service and their ability to work with us in making metrics on our own and helping us analyzing data and being insightful, and just the overall networking aspect has opened our eyes to things that, you know, we may not have seen in the past. And I think that's the biggest thing possible, because a lot of us are learning on the fly and on the job training, and the fact that I trust everyone that I speak to on the phone, I trust everyone that's coming to my office, I trust everyone that has been on the field with us is, you know, money can't buy that. Money can't buy trust. And I believe that KINEXON has helped us win and is going to continue to help us win in the future.